Never had a bedtime story read? Or just someone to lay by your side when troubles lay heavy on your head? Feeling tired? And you can't seem to stop your thoughts from spilling over with dread. You keep reciting those hurtful words and can't seem to forget what them said. I get it. We all want to fit in. Let's take a deep breath. And remember, it's not what people say to you, it's what you accept. The power was yours all along, and here's a place to remind you of this. Welcome to the world of Rest Time Stories. It's time to give stress a rest.
Now is the time to open your heart by Pulitzer Prize winning author of The Color Purple, Alice Walker. Chapter 2. To Kill or to Thaw the Anaconda. She dreamed she was emptying her freezer, and there among the forgotten leftovers lay an alive but perfectly frozen anaconda. A huge orange and spotted snake, ashen until she poured water on it, and its ice sheeting began to melt, the color of the sun. She felt she must kill it before it thawed. She ran to others for help. None could help her. They were busy with their own lives, their own anacondas. She cried out to one person after another, "Necesito ayuda! ¿Puedo? I need help! Can I help?" She thought she was saying, "Can you help?" But she wasn't. Only on waking, all outside help refused her, did she realize dealing with the anaconda was an inside job. Whether to kill it or let it thaw and live was entirely up to her. And wasn't she always saying what Grandma Yage had taught her? We are all in the back of a giant anaconda. It is slithering and sliding, darting and diving like anacondas do. That is the reality of the world. She woke up remembering a story from her days in the Black Freedom Movement, when she and her companions sought to encourage voting in a population that had been terrorized all their lives for trying to do so. An old woman had said to them, as they walked their weary miles across Alabama and Georgia and other outposts of the soon-to-be dubbed New South, "Let me tell you a story about a man and a snake. They put down their notepads and melting in their hands pens. The heat was so intense, and hiked up their jeans, took a seat on a stump in her yard and listened. She was so old she smelled like greens, and so real a number of them swooned. There was this man walking down the road, you see," and she pointed to the long dirt road down which they had trudged, looking for her house. And it was a very, very cold day. They looked into one another's profusely perspiring faces and couldn't begin to imagine it. And what do you think he saw just ahead of him on the road? Well, she carried on, without waiting for them to guess. There, right there in his path, was a snake. Kinda a cute snake. Probably had hair like most people want and long eyelashes. Her audience smiled. It was frozen solid, though. It was. But still, some part of it could talk to the man. You know how that is. They chuckled. And it said, "Please, Mr. Man, I'm just a poor little snake. I'm a poor little old snake, nearly but frozen, about frozen to death out here in this weather. Please take pity on me and warm me up by putting me in your bosom." Now, the man wasn't usually no fool, but you know how it sometimes be. That one day, well, he thought about it, and he was, after all, a Christian kind of man. He stood there thinking how amazing it was that such a cute snake could talk. And then he stood there a good 5 or 10 minutes thinking about what Christ would do. "If I was to pick you up," he said, leaning over the snake so that his own shadow became a part of it, "and he being a sensitive soul, started to feel a connection. "If I was to pick you up, how do I know you wouldn't bite me?" "Oh, no, Mr. Man. If you would be so kind as to warm me up and let me live, why, it would be a horrible thing for me to repay your kindness by biting you. I wouldn't dream of such a thing." So after a while, the snake looking at him, so pitiful, he picked the little old thing up and he put it in his bosom, in the pocket of his overalls, just behind his package of brown mule chewing tobacco, and right next to his chest, close to his heart, which was beating warm blood all through his sympathetic body. And they walked on, the man thinking real good things about himself, and the little snake beginning to feel like him or herself again. Pretty soon the snake was warmed clear through. The man could feel it slowly uncoiling, slithering behind his hangster pocket just a tiny bit. It made him smile, to tell you the truth. It tickled him to think that something as humble as himself could bring something frozen, almost dead, practically back to life. He reached up to pat the snake, and the snake bit him. He bit him on the jaw. And the man knew he was in the middle of Alabama or Mississippi or Georgia or North Florida or somewhere that wasn't likely to be no speedy help. He fell down the middle of the road, just a cussing. "Why you do me like that?" he asked the snake, who was now sliding nimbly across his pants leg. And the snake looked up at him and said, kind of shrugging his shoulders like those folks in France do, "You knowed I was a snake when you picked me up." And the man started to die. The old woman looked at the young people who had disturbed her peace to ask her to join their crusade. She had learned to live without picking up any snakes. She killed everyone she saw. No hesitation and no questions asked. She did have a different ending for the story, though, that she felt might do them good. For she could see they were understanding her to say what they were attempting was an exercise in futility. She cleared her throat, which had so many wrinkles as the ocean has waves. "Now listen, though," she said. "Most people stop that story right there. They act like the man was just a total fool outsmarted one more time like old Adam. But when you think more about the story, about the man and the weather and the snake, you understand it differently." "How's that?" someone from the group asked dejectedly. They had walked all morning in the broiling sun just to be told they were picking up something whose bite would eventually kill them. "Well," said the old woman, "think about the weather. It was still real cold. That snake, he was going to freeze again. Once he froze again, he'd be helpless again. No kind of protection for a snake too froze to bite." "So?" asked the same person. "So," said the old woman, "this is an endless kind of a thing. Do we kill it or do we let it live? Do we ever believe its true nature? And does that true nature ever change? And does ours?" She had given them some grapes that grew out behind her house and some water from her spring. "Bye," she'd waved to them, as contented as a girl.